All right, so maybe I just a really quick catch up. So thanks everybody for having joined, many of you, the check-in, the kickoff session. Um, the initial intention that we announced was really to be building, but I feel like what we have done is a little bit different. I think we've gone more in an exploration mode, and we have been like looking at the other initiatives. And so I'd say what we have achieved, which I think is incredibly important too, is that we have been exploring like a lot of other initiatives, and maybe the building it didn't have to happen necessarily in here, but now there's still a lot of on the builder side. I think we didn't have so much progress, but on the exploration side, I think we have done a lot of progress. So we have all these new entries, and after I make the introduction, maybe we can go and dive deeper onto the things that you wanna share. But as we were doing these big lists, what we also realized is that okay, we could build the contact list, but we also realized that we have done already some similar exploration work in the past. For example, looking at critical data sets or some environmental data producer when we really started the hackathon, that what we could do, we could actually blend or could merge those different data sets. Now I feel that what we have done, maybe the first task I'd like to do, maybe after this hackathon, is to try to merge all these different these databases and trying to clean it up. And for my part, I would say organizing it into this sort of more like a hard, crystallized scientific paper would be a way to go. I think that we've gone very, very broad. I think what I like to do now maybe is to go a little bit deeper and sort of organize and clean up those data that we've collected. And so if you're interested to join the science paper, I mean, you already contributed to it, so for sure you will be thanked here. So you know, like, so here we'll have a list of all the people who've helped to contribute to it. But yeah, so I just wanted to introduce, started by this introduction, and yeah, maybe now open up to you guys, and just like if are there things that you want to share, that you feel like wow, you've found some really exciting things that you would want to share, and I think that we can go into Jody activity after that. So are there things that you like that you have found that you were surprised by? Or things that you were like, oh, they're doing what we want to do, but better, or like, oh, we should be working with them because we could really support them, or thinking like, oh, they have a really interesting technology that we should use as our backend loader. Are there things that you have found that you think you are super valuable that you want to share?
Actually, I have a suggestion. This kind of connected to the activity that I have. Oh, Anila's coming in. Like the activity I have is right at the bottom of the Notion. And I think it's called like successes, discoveries, and next steps. I'm gonna share my screen. And give me a moment. So it's right here. So on this page, I was thinking for the next like 10 minutes, you can actually fill up like you can click in here, and this is whatever you want to say, and then you can say was it something that I learned, was it something I've done, and kind of and then write it out here, and after 10 minutes we can kind of share what those are, because I think it's all quite like personal learnings that or discoveries that we may have. um like say for me, I started adding yesterday. This is the discovery. I was looking one of the organizations called Icebreaker One, and I'll be happy to share my discoveries maybe in like 10 minutes. What do you guys think? And I think just like a silent retrospection and then sharing together as a team. If you're okay with it, then yeah, I'll set a timer.
Yeah, sure. Sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and add. No, stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing. I'll play some jazz music.
I'm going to share my screen, so just we share a place where we can see
Sure,
the people like moving thing. It's almost always more exciting, I feel, to see that we're working together.
Okay, true. Why not? Caesar, can you put a timer on your screen as well? A
Oh,
10-minute
sure.
timer. And
How many minutes you said? Sorry.
10.
Okay. Maybe 10 is a bit. Okay.
Sorry, up to you.
I wonder if it's a bit too long. I feel that
Yeah.
we might.
Okay. If you feel like it's done, then just call
Sure.
out, and then I
Yeah.
think that could work. Mhm.
Okay. The time's up. Actually, 10 minutes was probably like a good time, so
Yeah.
I take it back. Do you guys want more time or?
So.
I haven't looked through everybody's comment. I
That's
see that
okay. That
the
this
front,
is
the
this is
front,
where this is
front,
where it comes. That's exactly
know,
the now.
you can usually open them up and it's to see what's
Yeah.
inside them. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
think we can why not Caesar, you can open them up from whichever order you prefer, and then whoever who wrote it or wants to add to it, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And we
Can
can
we
have like
take
a 1 minute. I'll do the timekeeping and I'll try to keep like 1 minute each.
Hmm.
So going from the right side, I can see collection of data aggregator. So we've all done that. So well
Yeah.
done us. I think that's the first thing to highlight.
Yeah.
Then maybe you can go, Kelsey, do you want to talk about the calendar or benchmark? Do you want to elaborate on that?
So, yeah, so this time, yeah, I also did not, unfortunately, focus as much on build as I would have liked to. One of the first things that we were talking about in our breakout room is, yeah, it looks like in the first hackathon, there was like a lot of good emphasis on the stakeholders and who are we connected with and who do we already have close relationship with, these kind of things. And we're proposing, okay, let's think about our low-hanging fruits. Who are the ones who, we can depend on very quickly to, help us get to the next step. I wouldn't say that I could accomplish this one, but maybe one way to, go towards more of the how instead of the who. I was thinking about what is going to be our calendar of benchmarks. When I was doing some research about how we can apply to funding or apply to be published in journals or conferences or things like this, I saw, of course, the various grants or conferences have their own schedules, and schedules imply obviously there's certain times for us to be making these kind of applications. So I'm wondering to myself, like, what is our benchmark calendar? Right now, it looks like the strongest deliverable that we have is going to be the paper itself, something that we can have public facing. So I was thinking to myself, I wonder when this paper is going to be published, and if there's somewhere I can help to push this along, I'm very happy to join the process. Also about our MVP. So I was looking at the notes written by Penelope, which I think was a discussion with Jody. And she raised a good point about, are we going to be working in, one particular vertical and then using that pattern for other areas, or is it going to be a different, way of going about it? I'm very curious to know about this one as well, because it would be great to be able to show this kind of MVP to those low-hanging fruits that I mentioned earlier. And about the expected outcome of the paper. So of course it's academic paper. So, we hope to be, cited in other academic journals, or, hopefully other academics will use this information in their classes or other circumstances. But I thought it would be nice if we have a strategy in advance for companies or government organizations who have decision making to use this paper. I think that would be a really nice outcome. And I don't know if that's the original intention of the paper or not, but this is just something that I was thinking about. And, it could be something that could be integrated into this like calendar of benchmarks. So this is, one of the things that I was thinking about. In addition to like that, and it's mentioned in another card as well, is maybe this is quite obvious, but something I found time and time again looking at grants was sometimes you have to be invited to apply. And I wonder if, some of the folks on our stakeholder map would be keen to introducing us to either they themselves inviting us to apply or introducing us to someone who would have the decision-making power to invite us to apply. And this is also something that could be on our like calendar of benchmarks, you know, listing up these strong connections related to funding.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think maybe I'll make a quick comment. I would say for me the scientific paper is less for like publishing in the sense that we're trying to be in journals. I think it's still very useful to be in journals and to have something public facing. In my mind, it's actually more positioning ourselves. So it's because we're doing this work of like landscaping. In my mind, it's more like, okay, we're looking at all the things that other people are doing. We're identifying the gap. And I think as we also is, and you're also like a lecturer, I think a couple of us are academic. And so for me, it's less about like the glory of academia because so few people read papers, but it's more like, okay, how is SafeCast's position?
Mm.
What is the research gap? And how can SafeCast support that research gap and this capacity that is missing? And everything else, you know, like MVP, grant writing, sort of falls to serve that purpose of being a contributor.
Mm.
Mm, what I think could be interesting as an outcome is like, oh, do we end up not dissolving Safecast, but do we end up like saying like, oh, there's another project that is doing what we're trying to do, and then we join forces, you know?
Mm.
Or do we think that we can do something better, and then we invite them to join forces? So all these I think will become um, clear once we have a better lay of the land and decide what is our strategy and our approach with our resources.
Agreed, agreed.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Mm. Actually, I was thinking since Kelsey you started sharing and we can I'm thinking as we can go along just with each person instead, then maybe you want to share the other points that you've raised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then we can take turns, yeah.
Sure, sure. All right, let's see.
Penelope, feel free to add like if you have anything inside the list as well. I know you're here. And Yola as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so also, I'm, yeah, how should I say? I think well, first off, I'm really looking forward to Cesar coming to Japan because I think I need more input about like our our big, how
Mhm.
do I say, not just a big vision because that was presented at the beginning of the hackathon, but you know, like for example about this paper, like for instance, this idea for Safecast to partner with existing organizations to you know, leverage the power of Safecast with them. I think this is a fantastic idea. And it's something that I think, in particular in the research I was doing, a lot of tech startups need because the data that they have is could be difficult to verify or difficult to be trusted or things like this. And this is a, you know, a benefit or merit of Safecast. So I was thinking about this one. Yeah. And let's see what else. Yeah. Well, just kind of commenting on some of the other points that I'm seeing in this list here. Yeah, getting a lay of the land, so to speak. Yeah, getting a lay of that land and then getting a lay of the land of what specifically we want to offer as added value to potential partners. I want, you know, to find the unique points that I haven't thought about yet. And to do that by myself for this hackathon was a little bit tough. So, you know, you know, I'd love to have more like structured discussion with the team as like a, you know, live discussion. So this is something that I was thinking about during the hackathon is, you know, if we have some kind of template, for example, I'm always going to business model canvas, not that it's the perfect one, but I think it helps bring out some bugs or some opposite of bugs, butterflies, I guess, I don't know. So yeah, I would love to work on this kind of thing, like hand in hand with the team in the future, just because it will help me to clarify what it is that I can do to lead or support. Yeah, this is something I was thinking about as well. And I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on this topic, but of course, when I was doing the research on different climate tech or these kinds of startups. There's a lot, but not as many as I thought. Actually, I thought it was going to be much bigger, and I saw a lot that were based in US, but I think Asia is still up and coming for this in particular. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I would love to, further this discussion with you guys as well and find out, how is it or why is it that this is happening? Um, So I was, curious about this point as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
By the way, Caesar, I'm adding the points to the next point, which is the lay of the land. I think that's where Kelsey is talking about. That's on in progress.
In progress, sorry.
Yeah,
Let
like
me-
where SB's point? Yeah, that's what she was
yeah,
talking
okay, here. Okay,
about. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
Thanks a lot, Kelsey.
Yeah.
And I'm also really looking forward to being in Japan. And thanks to you, we have booked the May 4th.
Yes.
Mm.
And do you think that could be a good time to have this more structured conversation? Because it could be, I don't know, almost like a mini retreat. How many? I mean, it could be like maybe 2 or 3 hours, I guess, that we could spend without like overexerting ourselves, so we can still have like a fresh mind. And would that be a good time, you think, with Alvina, Asby, Jody? Like, do you think you'll be able to join? So Kelsey was very kind to book um, Fab Cafe first floor,
Second floor, but
second floor, sorry.
no worries.
And that is on the
4th May 9. I mean, currently it's what
on
time?
the on the 4th of May. So that's the last day of the Golden Week, Japan Golden Week.
Yeah, it's a
Asbi, are you
Sunday.
going to be traveling for the Golden Week? Alvina, are you
No,
going to? Yeah, it's
I'll
Sunday.
be
Oh, it's yeah, Sunday.
I'll be, here, but almost no available time. Saturday the 3rd, most available, possibly 4th, 5th, and 6th, maybe after 5 p.m. 7th, 8th,
Yeah, I can do.
7th, maybe after 2 or 3 p.m. Same for 9th and 10th. 8th, basically unavailable. So it's a very busy week for me.
Yeah.
Same for the following week. Maybe Sunday 11th after 2 or 3 p.m. Um, Monday 12th, maybe only at nighttime. So yeah, and it's actually very, very full time for me for work. So but I it can be available nighttime, and things like that probably.
Okay.
Mm.
Maybe if you can join from 5 o'clock, that's great.
Mm.
On the you said the 4th of May?
Yeah, on the 4th.
Well,
Maybe
I'll
there's
make a note of it. I'll make a
yeah,
note of
yeah.
let me see. And then uh at Fab Cafe.
Yeah.
Material,
Uh,
right?
structured.
Okay. Fine. I'll make a note and see, Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
at least we can cancel it at this time,
I
and then
mean, there's no
we can
need for anyone to like adjust everyone's schedule based on my availability, but um, you know, just that's a very busy, busy time. The week
yeah.
before is not so bad. Uh, and I have personally more availability, um, the week of the, from the 13th of May and then from like 21st of May. So it's just, a busy time. So
No worries. So I just pencil it for, let's say, 5 o'clock, 5 to 7. And maybe that's the time where we try to have the structure discussion, and other times we can do other things. But because this is more like strategic, I think it's important we have more people.
So 5 to 7 p.m.
To 7, yes.
on the
I,
4th.
yeah, I sent you the
Uh,
invitation.
All right,
Mm.
let's okay.
Thank you.
Mm.
Alvina, do you want to share your thoughts or the things that you code, that you learn, or?
Actually, sorry, just quickly to just close off
Oh.
because it was SB's point about the lay of the land. So maybe
Oh.
SB could finish up on that and
Sure.
then we
Mhm.
go to the next one.
Yeah.
So you want me to talk about that or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's was my general, grasp of it. Like one was that there are so many initiatives and some that go back a very long time, back to the 1960s, for instance, in some ways, not necessarily specifically environmental data. And then, yes, United States is the cause of some of the greatest crises in this area. And so many projects are US focused, which is interesting. And it struck me that a number of the, let's say, most developed projects, from the beginning, they say, we are a network. They are about making, international networks of people doing similar things and collaborating, etc. And then the necessity, and several of them, clearly say, yeah, part of what we do is help establish standards, best practices, guidelines, etc. So that to me is very, very interesting. It's already fairly well developed. But, most of them are also institutional, university, networks, or networks of libraries, or networks of other things. So this is also very interesting. But yet they are very open. And part of the lay of the land is, yes, okay, where do we fit in? Part of that is, how do we differentiate ourselves? And it's struck me, of course, one obvious thing is, the data that we already have. Certainly radiation data is a great strength that we already have. That could be something to be built on. We look at what Save Nipro does in terms of aggregating for Ukraine from every possible source, and being able to function as a viable backup when official data becomes unavailable. That's one area that we already clearly have a strength. It could be a core that we build on, and it could go to air quality data as well. And the other thing, I think, is the visualization side. As we look, not a lot of these projects distinguish themselves through their visualizations. There's a few interesting ones we talked about, but yeah, I think if we are able to somehow, first of all, is grasping the structure. How are these things connected? How are they overlapped? An area of data, let's say a kind of data, maybe let's say something like, air quality data. How is that divided? Certainly types of air quality data, different gases, certainly geographically, and then by use. So I think we can possibly come up with the most accessible and useful public facing visualization and access point to this kind of data. And because this is one of our strengths, I think. So that's kind of where I'm thinking of. And yes, it could be an umbrella and include so many of these groups. If you go through, they have just lots and lots of lists of data, projects, right? And a lot of them are the same projects, listed by different people and all. But then how do you make that somehow really, really accessible, and somehow indicating everything from, to what degree are they in risk? Are they critical? Are they essential? Are they somehow peripheral but yet significant? We can somehow make those analyses and judgments and provide that to be useful. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I didn't have enough time to go through and look at the various projects, but going through, I did get a better grasp, I think, of some of the larger and more comprehensive ones, and made some comments in the spreadsheet. But these people are already talking to each other, and we're newcomers to this. So, this is an interesting thing. And the last thing I'll say is there's just a lot of goodwill out there, and a lot of very strong cooperative attitudes. So I think people could welcome our contributions, I think.
I feel I totally agree with all you say. I will just add, I think it's not that so much that we are newcomers, because I think like Safecast, you guys have been working so long on this. But
Yeah,
I think
but in this particular,
yes,
preservation aspect,
Mhm.
we're kind of the data
Yeah.
archiving, data preservation. We're kind of a newcomer, right? So
we are newcomer in the sense that I feel like we are like a tiny niche, and now we're discovering like we are inside of a much broader niche. And we're like wondering like, oh, we've learned some stuff in our tiny niche. Can the stuff that we have developed in our tiny niche be useful, or what else is there for us in the broader niche? And I've added in the comment, like, I feel that we feel the need to come out of our smaller niche because we feel that a lot of the institutions that were supposed to protect our interests are failing. You know,
Yeah.
like the UN is failing to represent the national because they represent national interest. The governments are breaking down, like in the US. Universities are hedge funds. I mean, my university is becoming basically a hedge fund. Like they're just trying to have a big endowment and live on the interest. The publishers now, there's a lot of distrust, and that's why there's so much open science. And in business, they are protecting shareholder value instead of planetary health. So it feels like the NGO and the world in which we are, or like the new like hybrid structure, like Kelsey is using the business model. I think it's it's not a surprise that even an NGO has got to think of like business model. Is because we have to have this sort of like model to be able to scale up. So I think there's like those mega trends of institutions and international distrust and the new world order that is the sort of the backdrop of what we're doing, and we're trying to position ourselves on that canvas.
Yeah, interesting. So I was thinking I'm trying, which was the project I'm looking, maybe it was ICPSR, or maybe it was the data, hang on. Anyway, some data, maybe, anyway, one of the projects I have to go back and see. It was kickstarted by a fund, a grant from a fund, but then transitioned to be self-supporting, which was interesting. And so that is possible. Of course, they're self-supporting because of the members. Each of them had some, and they were institutional members. Maybe maybe at the university ones, and they were able to like each, support their own aspect of the activity. So there are different models for this. So, but yeah, we'll see. But I do think our forte has always been making things really understandable to people who are encountering it for the first time, approach it with a lot of questions and concerns, and just want to say, what do I need to know? And how do we know it? And I think this is one of our fortes, and the visualizations play a huge role in that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
And
Thank you.
can you elaborate with the visualization? So the map, right? Because I think, for example, for Alvina,
For Safecast, the map has been the visualization and what that leads people to.
right.
But then the other aspects as well, when we're talking about it. In terms of a paper, again, I'm wondering again what you talked about that. It feels too early to me.
Okay.
But we certainly could be, getting various, information. What would it be about? I mean, what would be the summary of it? About needs, analyze needs. That I mean, you mentioned that could be a paper in some way, but another general, like a survey of who's doing what, that could also be a paper. Knowing that it's constantly changing. By the time the paper gets published, then everything's changed already, But I think something like those could be useful, certainly, and part of an outcome of what we will be doing anyway, So that could be good.
Yeah. Taking in the paper itself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think. So,
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Elvina? What are the points that you've raised here?
Oh, okay. So I think one thing that I was doing through this hackathon was thinking about the objectives of the work we are doing. If we create all this data, and then of course when I look around, there's a lot of people have different websites have different types of data, and it's obviously nice to have data as well. And then I was thinking, okay, once we start to collate it and put it into a storage where people can access to it, the next thing I had in mind is like how many of us would know how to access this data? And do we even understand how to use this data? I think it's great for people who know what they're doing, but I think we're opening up to the community. Of course, we want more people to be able to access the data and make good use to it. Then the experts will obviously know what to do with it, but then for the rest who maybe who are interested to take part in understanding more on climate change, do they know how to do it? I think that was my thought. Like, yeah. So,
Sorry, I didn't capture the last line. What did you just say?
oh, so I was just wondering, like, there's my thought is like, so if someone who is still new in climate change and in the space of sustainability, when they look at what we are doing, do they understand what is our objective? And even if they have the access to the data, do they know how to access it and do they know what to do with the data? Yeah. That was just my thought. Like, I mean, for experts, they would know, but
Mhm.
if people who started out knew how to they get it, would it be too overwhelming that they decided, nah, this is not for me, and then they don't take part in it? Yeah, because we want to build a community, right? So I think it has to be I guess accessible to all so that they don't feel overwhelmed before starting on this journey. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to defining who the all might be, because there's so many people in the all. And I think it's like looking at the dimensions of time as well. Who will be the early movers, and then who will then be adopting at the right time, and who will be the laggards. And preparing for all timelines. Obviously, early movers, early adopters, it's good to get them because that's where the money will be as well. Um, and and to ensure that we can carry it forward. Whereas the people on the longer term, I think that's something that we can also map out. And I don't know what time frame we may be looking at, but it's definitely easiest. I mean, I feel like at the same time, it's like, look, we should build with the end in mind. And we need to decide what that clear end might be, and that might be the discussion for the one in what was it? What was the word? Like
What word?
what's the word that I was looking for? I was
Or
looking
empathy.
What does it mean?
Yeah, describe the meaning.
sorry, give me a moment. Yesterday I like a vertical. What's the one vertical that we can dive into get that framework from at least? Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
When I'm thinking about like different organization and what they do, I think I wrote it in the discussion with Kelsey.
Mm.
No, I didn't. He was not here. Um, uh, yes, for example, like if you think about our world in data, you know,
Mhm.
this website, they're very good at showing you key indicators and you can download an CSV
Hmm.
or XLS.
Yeah.
If you look at CCAN, they're really good at, as a CMS, Atlas
Mhm.
Capital, the guy I just connected to on LinkedIn, they're really good at making
Mhm.
a database of, or like a big contact list. It's good for business. IPCC is the collaboration platform for like science and like advising government.
Yeah.
So I think like Safecast has been known for powerful radiation monitoring and air quality and having a really good map and good data and hardware. So I think like if we think like very top level, what people know organizations for, usually it can be sort of broken down into like something quite simple.
Mhm.
Um, if I think about the climate data, what I imagine right now, but it may not be very attractive nor sustainable, is like almost like a pirate bay of environmental data. It means like it becomes a directory and but I don't know how much added value that really brings. And like Alvina said, to respond to Alvina, is like what you want to do is to have something that people can be useful and user friendly. People who go on the Pirate Bay, they're looking for, I don't know, want to download a cracked software, they want to download a movie. Um, but it's not the most like super user friendly for like it is quite special. I think it's a big spreadsheet, right? Um, but I think we're looking potentially to do something that's more user-friendly. I think like Safecast, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like families who want to know whether they are safe, where they are. And so they look at the map and they're like, oh yeah, radioactivity is here, maybe. Or is that a different use? Like, did you see a different use? Like Kelsey and Asby, like who was using Safecast? Was it mostly like researcher? Was it mostly like families on the ground? Who was using this data?
All sorts of people, curious people, researchers, maybe less so. But I would say people who are curious and interested. There's a lot of very, you know, people who need the information or want the information. And there have been a number of research projects that use it. And there's a lot of researchers that contribute data, you know? So, um, but I think it's primarily general public at this point.
Like just like a add that it's not necessarily the data specifically, but I know that ASPE's been consistently contacted by mass media like CNN, for example, for an opinion or a perspective about topics that are related to Safecast. In particular, I think about Ukraine or about the water release in Fukushima. So it's not always just about the data itself. It's, you know, because the data was collected in the way that it was, that in and of itself is giving Safecast a unique position to make statements for media. And so I always find this to be like quite powerful as well.
Yeah, being a voice, a thought leader, because you have access to the data and you spend the time to organize it, then it naturally positions you as the expert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You mentioned Our World in Data, and they weren't in our list, right?
Yeah. I think it is
Putting them in. But that's really best practice, aren't they? They're really an example of best practice.
I agree.
And credible and transparent and so comprehensive. So we could just look at their energy and environment stuff. It's very, very thorough. But so I guess we would call them aggregators and visualizers, right? So yeah. I'm just looking at one of their mapsters right now. It's environmental impacts of food production. This is just a great list of data, and I'll just paste it into the chat. So this is a very, very useful thing, but it's a public service. It's not business, and it's from Oxford. It's a collab. Oh, there it is. Oxford University, and collaborating with another research organization or a center. So I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
I know Kelsey's got like 8 minutes-ish left or slightly less. I'll quickly maybe go through my points and then maybe in like 2-3 minutes, and then we can also see like how do we move forward from here, because I think we're at like a turning point where everything actually expands and goes forward much quickly afterwards, which is kind of exciting. Like on the points that I've raised, I think Caesar, you already raised that one thing of trying to do one thing well. That's also what I put on what will be our differentiator. So I'll tick that off. And then another point that I raised was like also similar to what Kelsey had mentioned, who will be our key partners. That's also seeing who has the power to shift things for us. Being able to identify that as early as possible. And also, I had shared on the Slack from IB1. I don't know if Caesar, you can help me open up that Notion page.
You share? Whatever you share.
And I'll share it.
Yeah, you have more control. And we should also hear Eniola after.
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah. It was just quite cool to see what similar organizations are doing, but they come from a very different space. Yeah, as we have said, this is Safecast method, and
So
they're
much.
the all framework, right? Data is infrastructure, building cross-sector constellations early and looking at people first. Although I would say our I mean the differentiation of say like climate data safe to Safecast and to IB1 is that maybe we're looking at a more like bottom up approach than top down. There still needs to be a top down view of things. Like we still need to see how the constellations are connected.
Mm.
Then yeah, I just thought it's good that at least we have these case studies, Safecast and IB1. And then another thing is there's a section called context here because we've already collected a lot of different data points and also networks, but we may not know where to start from. So going to the lowest level is really the people. So they're here. And you can see here, they are actually tied to the different databases on top. So let's say if you've already put something in environmental data groups, then you meet someone from the data rescue project, then you can actually just connect it. I think some of you have already put it in. So thank you. It's right there. And I think we'll continue building on it. And I'm still figuring out what's the best way to show the urgency or importance to reach out to a person. So I'll optimize what that measurement might be, and I think we can just gauge it.
Maybe there's a way for us all to like indicate, you know,
Mhm.
what is that urgency or priority? You know
Yeah,
how, you know, in workshops we put little stickers, you know, who
little
thinks it's
stickers.
important?
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
something like that.
Maybe. Okay. I think let me see how I can set that up, and then we can do it. Yeah.
Notations, why, you know, if you just want to add, you know, because some
Yeah,
of the things, some people are going to be looking at it more closely than others for different things. So,
true.
but in part of
Yeah.
this discussion, I mean, two things I just want to say. And
Yeah.
are we trying to end in 5 minutes? Is that what we're doing here?
I try to
But
make sure that Kelsey hears the important things
but
in 4 minutes.
citizen science, you know, the bottom up citizen science in terms of participation, the data aggregation and that aspect that has a certain, you know, way to make that happen. But also, as much as we can encourage or focus on citizen science, citizen generated bottom up
Yeah.
project data gathering, that is probably something also very much in our specialty. Um,
Mm,
and there was one other thing I forget. Oh yeah,
yeah.
for me, in our main spreadsheet, you know, we have all the nice categories about data aggregators and funders and blah blah. Well, I kind of think those should be separate. I think we just need like a data projects, you know, one, and then a funders thing,
Mm,
which they should be connected somehow. You know,
yeah. Yeah.
relational database. I just as I
Yeah.
mentioned, somehow they should be
Yeah.
connected.
We
But
can definitely like review on how the databases will be built and structured. I think just because this was built like with everyone going out to do things, so it's like
yeah,
build it first and then
that,
we'll put it together later.
I get it.
Yeah.
So, but it, yeah, it is interesting. And some things is like, what is it? Like this one uh project, they're almost not aggregating anything, but they're more like policy oriented, right? Policy
Mhm.
advice and things. So there's some things that sort of fall through the cracks. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Kelsey, you added the idea about the workshop. So I'm gonna add a new thing, a new category called like idea or possibility, and that can be, and I'll put in your idea.
Yeah, right now, whenever Asmi and I are running these kind of like compact field trips to the Safecast office, one of the
Mm.
things that we're doing is putting the BGAIGI into the students' hands or teachers' hands and actually going out and gathering some data and then coming back, setting up the API and, giving them a chance to see, okay, this is where I was, this is where I took the data, this is the data that was collected. And I think that exercise in and of itself is really important as like a key part of that like compact education workshop.
Mhm.
It doesn't like go as far as to say, um, okay, what was healthy, what was not healthy, what kind of action can I take towards this data, um, or even like what we could do. What I would like to encourage is how can I share this data with other people to show that I took
Mm.
part in this exercise. But at the same time, Safecast is also taking this stance of saying like, you know, we're going to make the data. Do, you know, please look at it. You know, please consider it. But, you know, we don't actively enforce some kind of like specific way of digesting it.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, you know, part of the good part of Safecast. It's just like, you know, now you have it. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
It just was striking me that one reason why there are so many data projects is because data, basically all you need is a computer. You're just moving numbers from one computer to another computer, but actually being outside in the field, collecting data, blah, 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 blah. That's a more unusual and kind of special skill set that we have,
Yeah.
which I think we definitely try to build on.
And faces.
Helps people in person, you know. Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, because for me, you know, I come from ocean data, and so for me, like when I move into Safecast, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be, you know, taking sort of some of those Geiger counter and measure radioactivity, but I was always thinking like, how can I do like something related to ocean? And for me, this platform, if I have this platform that's a bit broader, would allow me to do more. And so for me, that's a part of it that is most exciting because it's physical and it's outside in the real world with people, and it can really make a difference for them, maybe more than radioactivity, which is already like, super valuable. But that's also why I'm so excited about this platform potentially. I'd love to hear about Eniola. Eniola and Alvina.
Oh, by the way, can we take a picture together just before Kelsey
Yes.
runs off? So
Kelsey,
Eniola, Alvina, can you turn on your cameras and then we'll have a picture together.
yes, if you can start Eniola, and if you can, Alvina, if you can start your video just for the group photo.
Let's see
For,
if they're
for
on.
Kelsey goes.
If not, I'll just take a picture in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, lovely. Okay.
All
Bye,
right.
Kelsey.
So early, but thank you guys so much for this, and let's yeah, keep in contact. I'm looking forward to continuing.
Eniola, do you want to share? What were the biggest takeaway for you? You joined this first hackathon. What did you learn? What did you enjoy? What were you frustrated with?
Yeah, first I want to apologize for not turning on my camera. I can't right now because it's the middle of the night and we do not have lights here, so
No.
yeah, you would not be able to see me. So I'd say this is really new for me. So basically learning a lot on climate data, and just it was a lot of information basically. But I'd say the most interesting part was looking for consumers, and that made me also read up on people that making use of climate data for whatever reason, for whatever they're working on. And it made me look at a lot of organizations as well and what they're doing. So I learned a lot with regards to that aspects as well. And currently I'm picking out on collecting contacts for all the environmental data groups that we've collected. So I'm adding to the contacts that Jody has already imputed there. I was about to add my ideas and possibilities. I was thinking maybe we could have a document or a place where there is a documentation of maybe funding links where even the ones that the application phase has passed. So set reminders on that when it's the next phase for application. Just a really long list of funding links everywhere, picking out from everywhere, and just having all of that somewhere. So yeah, so that's pretty much it from my hand.
Okay, thank you. So it's like a calendar that you suggest where at least you know, okay, funding for this is coming and we are
Yeah.
automatically alerted, and we kind of start building a team to always be aware of when to take action.
Yeah.
And to prepare those writings. Okay, I think that's great.
Is there something that is relevant for you as well? Because you are interested in like developing your own environmental projects in Nigeria, and so like you're interested in this also because you have some practical application for your own interests.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I worked in research, but I took a break from that for like a year now. So saying this, I was like, oh, okay, climate, let me just join this year. So it's something I've been looking at because I worked in research. I did a couple of volunteering for climate actions here in Nigeria as well. So it's something I want to go back into. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'm gonna go to Berlin at this conference called the Republica. And I just got a fellowship of a group called GIG, Global Innovation Gathering. And about half of the team are from what we call the Global South. And the biggest, I would say, application for this gathering is to apply together to grants. Because actually it's very rare to have a platform where you have people from the global north, like, I don't know, like Europe, America, or Japan, and then actually discuss how they can collaborate with the global south. And I think there's, especially USAID, I know in Kenya had a lot of funding. I know you're not from Kenya, you're from Nigeria, but it had a big impact in Kenya actually. Like if I recall, like tens of thousands of jobs actually had been lost because it was supported by USAID, and a lot of it was development work related to climate, related to food, related to transportation and safety. And so yeah, I'm excited as well to see like the perspective from Africa. I think we need to have as we said, like we have a lot of stuff which is very America centric, and the fact that America is losing a bit of its leadership in terms of environmental policy making, and it's an opportunity as well for the other powers to step in and say, hey, we also have data, and we also have need for data, and we need to build our civil societies and our business models. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I think it would be we're super excited. We hope that you'll keep coming, and we can work together more to aggregate data, and then maybe like apply for grants together. And having you in the team, I think would be super valuable to have a different perspective. It would be enriching us tremendously. So yeah, we're super excited to have you.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm excited about this too.
And Elvina, I think there was one more point that I don't know, Kelsey has covered it slightly, but maybe you had wanted to talk about it as well. You wrote this point on differentiating ourselves. And this is connected to
Actually, I don't think it was me. Was it from me?
maybe it wasn't, maybe it wasn't. Then I guess it
No,
was.
it wasn't, but it's okay. I mean, she covered it, then it's okay. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
But maybe you can still ask you the question because you are more new to the project. What do you think could be our biggest differentiator? So you join and you look at, if you had to describe like what do you think we could do, what do you think is the thing that we're doing? Because you have a new fresh pair of eyes.
Mm. Okay, I think I don't even know if I'm getting my objective right. So excuse me. So I think what we want is to make the data accessible so that um normally people could use it, right? So basically, like example, based on what they're looking for. If let's say maybe for example, if I want to go to Japan for a holiday in April and I wanted to take a data to see what's the likelihood of having an earthquake there on that season, then maybe I might want to go on a certain month that may be less likely to have an earthquake. I don't know, that's on a layman term, would that be something correct to
That would be maybe a few levels away, but one of the consumer pathways. So if you reach out to, say, a travel agency and sell them this data and say, hey, you can actually make your a software for this and offer it to others, or have this open source. It really depends.
Yeah, I think how I envision it could be like in the app form where people can download the app and they can look at it and be useful. And also maybe at some point there's probably a little function as well for people to add in inputs. Like sometimes maybe they have gone on a place that we haven't explored yet. For example, I don't know, maybe like Papua New Guinea or something like that. And then they're like, oh, this is some of the recent interesting observations we make about the climate. Maybe it tends to be a bit more dusty at certain times of the month. Um, I think on the back end we can collect this data as well, and I guess maybe a little bit like a manual AI, like we're training the model, but people are training us by sending in the data as well. I think that also ensures that the data is always ever changing and evolving. Yeah.
I think what the direction which you're going is super interesting. So what you mentioned, for example, like if I want to go to Japan, I want to know the likelihood if there's risk of earthquake. So I would say like this particular example is very hard to predict earthquakes, but
Yeah.
maybe I will use another example that I think might be more like timely, but in line with what you're describing is, for example, like you want to go to Japan and you want to go when there's the most cherry blossom. And actually, it
Yeah.
turns out that cherry blossom is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, citizen science project in the world, right? I think, Asbi, you mentioned it. Because people in Japan have been recording the start and the end date of each city in which the cherry blossom starts and ends. And that has been helping actually to understand climate change before we had other types of records, because cherry maybe is like relatively stable species. So depending on the date, you can know that the climate has been changing for the few hundred years. And so I had another student of mine who reached out and said, "Oh, I really love your project. You know, you're collecting all this environmental data. But what I'm interested, me, because she's Filipina, is how is this environmental data related to being more relevant for people in their daily life?" And so she wants to have this like climate data, and then for each environmental issues, for example, like preparedness for typhoon, where's the shelter, where's the food stock, where's the water supply in case we have a disaster. And what she wants to do is to use AI to parse all the local NGOs in the Philippines, especially, where the response capacity. So, okay, this data is interesting, but what can I do? And then made me reflect as well. Like Jody, yesterday you showed to me that you are so keen to be a Google Maps guide, that you've already written over 3,000 entries. When you go to a restaurant, you would take some pictures, you would leave some, and you're showing to me that actually even just in your own small circles of friends, there are at least 3 or 4 that have more than 5,000 reviews. And maybe this is where this is becoming more like a social network, and we can have like high growth. I think like Asbi, I was wondering like in the Safecasts, is there like a leaderboard of the members, and so people can sort of like have bragging rights and badges, and there's like a social currency for. But maybe this is a really important part, like when people start to aggregate data, whether it's
It
biological data, and maybe that could be a huge driver for community adoption.
could be occasionally to gamify it or something, but
Yeah.
we never did. So
Why do you think we didn't do that? Is it because Jam would be like the world leader and he doesn't want to be under the spotlight?
not enough people thought it was worthwhile, or
Maybe
you
they
know,
just didn't think about it.
but, you know, there are other people, who are participating a lot, people like Sean and Joey and stuff, and they're always on Discord where that's everything, they're totally into that. But it just never was something that seemed useful for us. So we had done things to like acknowledge people who contributed a lot of data and everything, and we looked through our registrations for people who have registered to our API and stuff. And it's clear that 80% of the data is done by like 10% of the people, and there's a few people who are standouts. But anyway, we just never did that. It could be done, but we just never did that. So, but it comes up every now and then.
But do you think it would be positive, or do you think it would
Hey,
actually be effective?
Maniola, thanks for joining us.
Daniela?
We will catch up with you.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we'll keep you in the loop. Thanks.
Anyway, it could be, but again, Cesar saw like who's going to do it, and our
Yeah.
way of doing things, whoever suggests it has to do it.
Yeah.
I,
I mean,
I,
take full
I suggest-
responsibility of everything that you say. That's it. Maybe I guess what's next from here? Maybe we can
Yeah, close off,
box, I'll say time box 10 to 15 minutes for the what's next,
yeah.
and we can close.
Maybe, of course, I have an opinion, but I'd rather speak last.
Oh,
So,
it's you.
mm. I feel that we have done a lot of like horizontal exploration, and that's why like even though I don't feel like the scientific paper is necessary, like the paper itself is an achievement for me. It's more like a stepping stone, and as B said, like identifying the need, and that's already very very powerful. And then like what Kelsey was saying, like having a business model could be very powerful. In my mind, like building a Pirate Bay of environmental data is a first step. Um, I mean, what Safecast has been doing, and I think it's incredibly valuable. I want to build on top of that, and yeah, not creating, reinventing the wheel. So, like, can we do what Safecast has done for reactivity data and choose a couple of few more verticals? Like air quality is another one, but do it in a way almost like our world in data, and do it in a very clean way that's like aggregating other people's data. Is that the avenue? Or is it becoming like the Pirate Bay of environmental data and just have like a gigantic repositories where we are linking to other initiatives, and we're becoming like the I feel like we are at the crossroads, like you said, like we have to choose like what is the thing that we're trying to do. Is it like aligned with what we have already been doing and just expanding a little bit more, and so like very carefully expanding what we do, or do we like go out, all out, and we capture all climate data, like past archive stuff from NASA and NOAA because they're disappearing, and like we have a real-time list of feeds, and we have future simulations, and we just become like an aggregator, which I think is incredibly valuable, but it's quite different from what Safecast has been doing. Yeah, so I think we have to make that decision pretty soon, I feel. Otherwise, I think we may be at risk of losing momentum. Yeah.
I feel like there's so many aggregators, so it's like, how will you show your true value amidst the aggregators unless you have the added function already, right? And to collate everything, it's like who will be the immediate people of service, who will be adopting the service. Like, I think that's the tricky thing. So Pirate Bay. So I guess it's like maybe we need to unwire what makes Pirate Bay so effective. Because Pirate Bay is run by everybody. It's not gonna be run by just us or like a smaller group. So I feel like we would have to dig much deeper if we want to go for that approach. And also, I'm just thinking, because so many times we've mentioned already, we want to make data useful. If we are centered on that, we may have to pull further away from taking in everything, because if we take in everything, we cannot comprehend everything. Like, we cannot start with everything. We'll have to start with one thing. Yeah, even if we want a Pirate Bay.
What do you think? I mean, I don't know that. I mean, Pirate Bay, of course, is an example of the worst, right? But yeah, things build a reputation. It's just like Napster. I don't know if you guys Napster.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. Wow, suddenly for everything.
LimeWire.
And blah 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 blah. But then the network built, right, as a torrent, and it got more usable and searchable, and of course it was closed it. But yeah, how does someplace build that kind of reputation? And for the so-called dark web, there's that appeal that it's legal and not right, and people want to learn about how to do those secret things, but for a totally valid and above board, what could be a model? I don't know. I can't really.
That's a good point, because it's also branding, right? If you want to say, oh, we're the Pirate Bay of data, then like how it's about the trust that we want to build with the partners that we want to work with as well.
Yeah, so I can't really think of another one, a sharing website, data sharing or torrent-based website. I mean, there are, right, obviously for other kinds of data. I mean, it's clear methodology, but people it's like for a while only the in people the cool people knew about Pirate Bay, and
Mm.
because sharing pornography and horrible things, and then it gets in the news, because of the problems, and we go, oh wow, that amplifies it, right? So then more and
Mm.
more people found out about it, were able to use it. Um, but it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, although our context would be largely different, thankfully. Like content-wise, I reckon say like the screening
Yeah.
tools and climate rescue, very similar approach. And that's the problem that we've been discussing so far, right? Because they're so similar, then what do we do about the similarity? Yeah. Oh, Caesar just dropped off.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
I think he'll be back. But
Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to go soon too. But
yeah,
but so yeah, I mean, definitely we picked the initial focus, and
yeah,
how about it in a kind of modular way.
yeah.
You know, I was looking through what Penelope was saying, and I think, yeah, I mean, they definitely pick
Mm,
something that can be, unique and meaningful and show the way for the rest. And again, I will use the example of Save EcoBot, how they did with, they started with, air quality data, and then the time came for radiation data, and the radiation data became more important. And then
mm,
they pull in all these other data sets, and it's very, very expandable,
mm,
uh,
mm,
and also has a clear value, comes from a clear value and a public service motivation. So and again, also we talked about this from the beginning, all of this is much easier when you're doing something just for that motivation,
yeah.
but then want to start monetizing it, then it gets very, very difficult, and the ethics of it become very, very difficult.
Mm,
So yeah, so let's see how it goes. But we should look more, I think definitely we should look more at the funding of all the other uh, good projects. And
mm,
s- and at some point, for our world in data, that just grew so big, started in 2011, uh, and they get funding from all kinds of funding from foundations, but a lot of individuals who use the site, then they donate.
mm,
So that's something that we never really were able to get for Safecast. And part of the reason, of course, our world in data is so many different kinds of information that appeal to so many different kinds of people.
mm,
So yeah, I think definitely we look a little bit more at their funding, and see, and I think we'll find some of the same foundations cropping up um, in different projects. So
mm,
On a similar note, like I was in some meetings with the group of the Drawdown, the book Drawdown, which is it's a book that that ranks the climate solutions by the ratio of costs to the amount of gigatons of CO2 that it can remove from the atmosphere. And so it's a book initially that was trying to make this ranking, and now they sell a lot of consulting services for government. For example, let's say I'm in Namibia, I'm a small country, I don't have so much money. Instead of asking for a consultant from scratch, I know the Project Jordan has made a ranking of all the tech in the world that can help to like address climate change. Okay, I'm gonna ask them. Okay, but with the with the circumstance of Namibia, we have wind, for example. Okay, okay, that's the best thing. But what is the next best thing? That's not very clear, and so they can help a lot of. So they have a non-profit side of things, which is like the global, but then they do a lot of business locally, because people want to know like locally what is most relevant for them. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So
interesting. That's worth looking at.
yeah,
I
because
would
I
say,
think they're very specialized. Like Safecast is super specialized, and then they build a business model around their specialty. I agree with you is that if we start to be an aggregator and people misuse our platform, then we cannot control it. It becomes out of control, and then the quality is going to go down. It's inevitable.
mm,
So
yeah. Okay, I will look through this and see. Um,
mm.
so great.
All right, what's next?
I don't know. But I think we'll just keep it going. Let's just keep going.
Keep going,
You know,
yeah.
I don't know, hackathon soon. I mean, maybe so, but let's just keep it, bubbling. Keep the activity going on Slack and stuff.
I think definitely if we want to carry on post hackathon but still carrying on with certain roles that we're slowly developing for ourselves, being able to identify that helps with taking up that responsibility. Um, and also another thing is like yeah, then we can also set our what Kelsey had suggested schedule our calendar or calendar of benchmarks and how everybody will come to contribute for that. Obviously, the whole call for volunteers can be one thing, and we can state very clearly what are the different tasks we're looking at, who will helm the different groups to keep them going post hackathon, just on like a weekly, bi-weekly basis. I don't think the task can be very huge, but if everybody is moving with a little bit every day, I think it adds up. And I feel like even this hackathon compared to the previous ones, the collection of data and understanding of the space that we were able to achieve was actually pretty significant and expensive. And honestly, we can just keep doing that, right? Like making space and structure for eventually the learning curve is inevitable because the space is complex, solutions are constantly popping up, and there's a lot to learn from them. But then it can't go on for one weekend and then stop. And then we're constantly like rebuilding and like knowledge again each time.
Thanks so much, Alvina. Have a great Hari Raya, and then we hope to see you in the next edition.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I need to run off soon, but
Yeah.
yes, I'll continue adding stuff in the Notion when I come across things. So I'm still working on several things. So
And I like what you said about the bird watchers.
oh yeah, I thought that would be yeah, because whatever Caesar said just now just reminded me of that. I was like, yeah, usually that's how my mom would tell me, like, oh, strangely enough, these birds are here. They shouldn't be here this time of the month. And then she was like, oh, maybe it's because of this. So I was like, okay, that's actually quite a good telling sign. Yeah. Um. Anyway, thank you so much for being patient with me. I'll see you guys soon.
Right.
Thanks.
Yes, I'll keep you in the loop through Slack.
Thank
See you.
you. Bye.